Hello, Giant team members. In this module, we are going to be talking about resistance to change. So we are going to be looking at things like causes of resistance, the symptoms of resistance, how to manage the resistance to change. And in this particular video lecture, we're going to be looking at the benefits of resistance. Now, for the longest time, going back a long time, like into the 40s, through more current times, resistance was seen as something very, very bad. It was seen as cancers to the organization. Those individuals that were resisting change or voicing their resistance to change were seen as uncooperative and anti-establishment and not doing what's best for the company. But a more current view of resistance to change shows that there are benefits when individuals resist change, and that resistance can even be beneficial to the organization in any number of ways. So in this video lecture, we're going to look at some of those benefits to resistance of change. It is certainly a very common issue that is faced by any change manager, any change management project that's going on within the organization. It's almost uncommon not to have somebody who's going to be resistant, or a group of individuals who are going to be resistant to the change. Resistance can be the reason that any number of projects fail, and there's no denying that some very good projects have met resistance and have failed as a result of that. But in reality, it's a lot more complex than that. We can't just say one or two individuals resisted and that's the reason this project failed. It's a lot more complex. So if you're involved in any change project, you're changing your inventory system, you're changing the process for customer interaction, you're changing the way items are inventoried or checked out, whatever it might be. Keep in mind that it is a complex process, and even though one or two individuals may be resisting, it's probably not the reason this project is going to succeed or fail. Sometimes poor management can be at fault for the resistance. And resistance can be an early warning sign that things are not going to go well. And managers need to be aware of that and be acutely aware of that resistance, because it could be signaling something greater. Sometimes change is welcomed, right? It's not all change projects or change processes are met with resistance, and we'll go over some of those things that where change is actually welcomed. There's a saying, an old saying, and you've probably heard it a lot of times. What's in it for me? WIIFM. What's in it for me? So if something is going on, if something is changing, if somebody's introducing a new process, one of those first thoughts that we have is, what's in it for me? Or how is it going to affect me? Or what's in it for them? So that's why, later on we're going to talk about communication and things like that, because people are self-concerned, right? They're concerned about their positions, their roles, maybe new skills they're going to have to acquire, but also, hey, how's it going to benefit me, right? So sometimes those welcomed changes and those changes that are unchallenged would fall into one of these categories. First of all is security. So if it's going to put the organization in a stronger competitive position, and it's going to almost ensure the longevity of the organization, usually those types of change efforts are welcomed and go unchallenged or without resistance. Higher compensation in terms of salary or money or incentive systems, reward systems, usually are, especially if it's an increase, right? Authority, promotion, power, more discretion with decision making. Those are more welcome. Status, maybe a better office, or you moved into a management position. Those changes are usually welcome. Responsibility, increased job scope, increased variety within your job. Better conditions, and we're talking there about the physical conditions of the better layout maybe, or just controlling the environment a little better are very welcome changes. Self-satisfaction, greater self-challenge or achievement. Remember way back when we talked about motivation, if these changes are increasing self-satisfaction and motivating employees, that's a very good thing. Personal contacts, maybe you have a chance to meet or interact with more influential people. Very, a very good change for people. That goes unchallenged. And less time and effort. If we're going to achieve operational efficiencies with whatever changes we're going to do, that's great. It might mean less work for me. It might mean less manual labor, manual work for me. So these are some of the changes that usually kind of go without that resistance and are usually unchallenged by the employee. But then, so what are some of the benefits of the resistance to change? Well, first of all, resistance can prevent the implementation of weak ideas or ineffective proposals. Not everything that management comes down with is, I don't want to say it's not well thought out, but sometimes it's not in the best interest of the people and or the organization. And some of these ideas might be fads, or they might just be something that maybe somebody else is doing and we think we could implement it. So that resistance to change might really expose those weak ideas, and that's very important. It creates a divergence of ideas. It can broaden the argument or expose variables, both positive and negative. So, hey, here's what we want to do, and then somebody comes along, they may be seen as a resistor, but says, well, there's other things that we need to consider. What about these factors? What about these variables? What about modifying the ideas or the plan this way? Those types of dialogues are going to expose both positive and negatives. It's going to expose plans that are doomed to fail. Those that are close to the operation, those that actually do, might have a better understanding of something that just is not going to work. This project is going to cost time, energy, and money, and it's doomed to fail from the beginning. So resistance to change can expose that. And we'll look at the way managers should approach this too, because a lot of times management is closed off and sees resistance as just negative, troublemakers, and we're going to shut down the communication. And that's problematic because there are times when projects are doomed to fail. There's also something called pragmatic resistance, and it's almost a little passive in nature, but there's more of a focus on the real work, right? What are the responsibilities and duties of the job? And people who are resisting change focus more on that, focus more on getting their job done, to the point of almost, well, look, I have no time to implement this change you're talking about or get up to speed on this change. So they really focus on getting things done while ignoring those change initiatives, and that's pragmatic resistance. The good thing there is that things are getting done, right? Maybe even more is getting done than would normally get done, because the focus is really on the job, the duties, responsibilities of what needs to get done, while we kind of just, hey, look, I don't have time for what's going on with these changes. So 5 ways resistance can be used productively. First of all, it encourages dialogue. It keeps the conversation alive, even with complaints, right? So if this dialogue keeps going, both sides become aware of the issues, aware of what needs to be done, aware of who's going to be involved, right? So resistance does encourage dialogue, and as a manager, take advantage of that dialogue and engage in that dialogue. It's a free opportunity to communicate what the vision is, what the change is, but you're also going to be receiving a lot of feedback, and that also clarifies the purpose, that everybody understands their role in this change process. You can consider new possibilities. The most outspoken are usually the most operationally effective. They're closest to the operation, they understand the operation, and they are going to be the most vocal about this change. Treat them as experts. Treat them as individuals who really know what it is they're doing operationally. Listen to the voices. People want to be heard. Sometimes, I just want to express my concern. I just want to express my anxiety and get something off my chest. So make sure that you listen, encourage participation, and then deal with the past. There might be what we call leftover issues, right? We tried these 4 or 5 different change projects in the past, and they fizzled out. They were fads. They were doomed to failure. They never worked out. Employees remember that, and they say, yeah, remember what happened here. Remember what happened there. Well, we could use that to talk about those past opportunities that failed, and overcome the anxiety of that, overcome the frustration that was involved with that. We certainly, that resistance certainly can allow us to address some of those past failures. And we want to treat resistors with respect. Again, people want to be heard, so listen, respond, treat people with respect. Don't view it as personal. Don't view the resistance as a personal attack on you as a manager. It's not. It's just somebody who may be in the know, or may have had past frustrations, or whatever it might be. So don't view it as personal. Like it's not a personal attack on you. View it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to engage in dialogue. It's an opportunity to communicate. It's an opportunity to clarify. That's a great thing. And don't let resistance become passive. And by passive, I mean that we're really not saying anything, but our actions are really demonstrating that we don't want this change to happen. And then it's kind of a closed loop. Nobody's communicating, nobody's talking. People are passively resisting the change that's happening, and that's not good. A lot of bad things can happen there. I just went one slide too far. Sorry. Okay, so that's our video lecture on the benefits of resistance. And again, for years resistance was seen as a bad thing, a cancerous thing. Resistors were looked down upon, and they're troublemakers, and that's not the view today. The view today is engage, listen, give and take when you have somebody with a resistance. And of course, we're going to try to put people's minds at ease, but the people who are resisting may see things that you don't, and it's a good opportunity to engage and learn, and probably better the entire change process as a result.